The Amazing World of Gumball is a show where a blue cat and a fish with legs are brothers. They go to school with somewhat strange characters, living really extravagant adventures.
You guys good?
With that absolutely strange setup, how are we meant to find the most normal episode of Gumball? Well, let's start with the first season, and to accomplish this difficult task, I'm not going to accept episodes where Gumball or anyone else is remembering stuff. This also counts episodes where their imagination gets out of hand, like my intrusive thoughts at 3 AM. The idea is to find an episode where the plot has to be something that is common, stuff that can happen to you, me, or anyone, as far as possible. In the episode the third, which is also the third episode of the show, Gumball and Darwin come to the crazy conclusion that monogamy is boring, and they need a third party to kick things up a notch. At school they search for a new friend, where after dealing with some bad options, they find Tobias, who's exactly what they've been looking for, at an affordable price of 20 bucks, which is less than in the Bronx. Gumball is feeling left out, so he tries to replace Darwin with Ellen, but he's not enough, cause he got no hands, so it's not the same. I guess he didn't know he could do this.
Are the cornerstone of a healthy diet! Delicious.
Gumball decides to go see Darwin. He takes a tricycle. In his fury goes through a cement, but he breaks the concrete because of the power of friendship. Yeah, that's lame as It's not realistic, because if you don't know, I'll tell you. Friendship doesn't exist. You're born alone and you die alone. Anyways, they realize how good the old-fashioned way is. Just two, where she cooks and takes care of the children. The man earns the money and he hands out the occasional beating. Continuing with the dating advice, Gumball, Darwin and everyone have to find a date for the party at Tobias' place. It's funny how Gumball, looking for someone to take to the party, acts like a total Andrew Tate enthusiast with every girl.
You're not really my type because I usually like attractive girls, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. You're a girl, right?
The predictable outcome was that Gumball had to go out with a big lizard breath chick.
Giant lizards!
The party goes nuts when these two arrive, probably with something that made everyone go insane. Something not so common happens here, but it could be just some sugar side effects. Another strange thing happening in this episode is that these middle schoolers completely trash the house. Darwin, with his suction power, cleans up the house in no time. That's a bit strange, but the last one we're going to see from the first season is a bit more normal. Gumball and Darwin want to get a refund for a game they bought for the wrong console. Larry, being the supportive, kind and pure soul that he is, he would give them the refund, but the manager does not allow it. Rules are rules. I wonder why I am so fond of Larry. I don't understand. They tried several manipulation methods. They hypnotized Larry into giving them a refund, but even that doesn't work, and that's because they don't know this simple life hack. Overall, this is a very solid option. It's kinda weird how Richard instantly grows a mustache, and after the store alarm goes on, he loses it, but I guess that's how rabbits work. I don't know, I'm not a geologist. We move on to season 2, and we can notice that some episodes have a really normal start, but just right at the end the show pushes it to silly limits. Episodes like The Storm would be your typical romance episode where they try to use jealousy as a weapon. That doesn't go well, as Masami goes full no Russian. But at least Alan got a happy ending, since Gumball literally blew Alan in the restroom.
I think I have the strength to inflate. Thanks, Gumball.
The episode The Psychic almost made the list, since it is simply Darwin getting sick of being called Gumball's orange bag, and he takes the leadership in retrieving a game from Tobias. Pretty ordinary episode until I remember 12-year-olds kidnapping someone's mom. Maybe it's an everyday thing in the actual war zone where I grew up in, but not that common in the rest of the world. So I guess we don't count this one, but an episode that we do consider will be The Apology, where in class Mrs. Simeon's tail was holding her dress up, showing everyone her absolutely gross, hairy, wrinkly red baboon ass. Everyone's reaction was accurate. The boys tried to tell her, but she didn't see it that way. She tries to create false evidence against Gumball and Darwin, but they're clean, they ain't got nothing on it. However, the boys notice her obsession is costing her her job, her relationship with Mr. Brown, and her sanity. This one is a great option. Continuing with the episode The Boombox, the brothers try to understand what the speakerhead is saying. It is a simple episode. They discuss, watch some memes, Although at some point they go shirtless and do some random things, trust me, this is very normal for this show. Not gonna lie, this episode is kind of frustrating to watch, especially at the end where he finally gets to communicate just to get back to square one. Makes me so angry! With those two options from season 2, we move on to season 3, which made things way more complicated. Here the show starts diving more into the void, the paintings and all that stuff that I talked about in this video. But for season 3, I got two options. The first one is the man. Granny Jojo brings her new boyfriend to her birthday dinner, so everyone has to see this. Yep, it's a bad day to have eyes. Richard didn't vibe with that, so he bans his mom for ever seeing Louis again, as he believes that his father will eventually come back. We've all been there.
Father?
Yeah! You said he left to buy some milk 42 years ago! He could be back any minute!
Gumball makes Richard and Louis compete in man-off, where each decide how masculine they are.
Carnivore diet promises insane health benefits.
There! That's it!
The last round is honestly a no-no, as men we know that we shouldn't talk about our feelings, otherwise we'll be perceived as weak and therefore society would obliterate us. At the end, Richard is convinced to let out all his pent-up feelings, helping him to recognize what he, deep down, did know, because that's being a man, accepting the rough tragedies of the past and move on with our lives. Really good episode that touches some deep, important, necessary and relatable topics. The question: when Gumball and Darwin are forced to eat natural cereal, they skillfully pickpocket some of the unhealthy cereal from Nicole. Now they're having a problem that some can relate. It's like when junkies got the dealer arrested, or nobody wants to exchange some product for a blowy. They have to make the most with what they have left. They find the shortest way to get to their brains. Huh, seems like needles are a thing of the past. They end up so high that they come to question the meaning of life. After coming off of sugar, the boys regain consciousness simultaneously. Gumball is in a fountain, wearing a ballerina outfit and boots, while Darwin is handcuffed to a street lad with a trans strap on his butt. Wow, that rush must be wild. Jeez, hand some of that. They start the quest to find the meaning of life by asking everyone and hearing their different perspectives, while Mr. Small's running after them as he claims to have the answer that we never hear. After going through different philosophical approaches to life, they finally get to Susie, who gives a really brilliant answer.
So really the only true meaning of life is finding your own way to enjoy it.
Pretty existential episode. The fourth season made it somewhat complicated for me, but again, I selected two episodes. The best. It starts with Anais training intensely because there's a Minecraft YouTuber out there molesting her. Just kidding. It's just this little kid called Billy who's always bothering her and will probably end up being a Minecraft YouTuber anyway. This pesky little kid seems to be very sore over being rejected by Anais in the episode The Egg. This being the reason he gives Anais such a hard time. He's projecting his frustrations onto her. Basically a wife beater in the making. And by the way, what is it with this show and the drugs?
I believe it was Gandhi who once said, "Dude, don't fight. Take a chill pill and everything will be alright."
Percocet, you want one?
No.
Oh, you want to do perk?
No, I don't personally.
The episode does have its somewhat odd scenes, but nothing very strange compared to the other episodes of the same season. The next one is The Hawk, and oh boy, this episode. It explores the homoerotic tension between Gumball and Hot Dog Guy, and the process in which things escalate to more. I mean, it's a sausage with yeah, you get it. The first time I saw this clip was in some Gumball with no context video, and I couldn't believe this was real. No way. I was like, what the f? And my head exploded. The context of the episode is that Darwin taunts Gumball how he's more predictable than a Marvel movie, and that's why Gumball took too serious, never let him know your next move. How everything leads to a chain of uncountable moments in which the two can't stop bumping into each other. The context still doesn't make it less unsettling. Anyways, this episode was very cute and relatable, I mean awkward, but overall somewhat normal. Now we reached the penultimate season of the show, and here I did not have it so difficult. I could directly say that The Guy is the episode for this season. Anais finally manages to make a friend who's the same socially awkward as her. It's nice to see Steven Universe fans together. The boys assume there's something wrong with Josh if he'll be a nice friend, so they decide to investigate, and you know how it goes. It turns out he's a really nice guy, and Josh gets mad at them for not trusting him. They win him over, and Josh begins to take measurements of Anais. Wow, this poor little girl is gonna grow up with an amount of traumas higher than the atoms in the observable universe. It turns out he's a creep with a cult worshipy personality. This way we get to the last season with another easy decision. There's only one episode that qualifies, and it's called The Transformation, where Gumball is involved into a heated argument with Penny's family about her new look. Ah, come on, it's not like she shaved one side and dyed her hair purple. Now that would be tragic, let me tell you that. Basically, Gumball is asked to settle a dispute between Penny and her family, to which he realizes everyone is basically a psycho.
Thank you. What?
Most or almost the entire episode takes place at the table in Penny's house. For those who may say he starts imagining things at some point, I want to say they're just representing the story through this animation, and it's not something that affects the episode. You know, it's not a story from the past or the future, it's just a story from the perspective of a mentally ill kid. Anyways, the episode, I rate it very highly. Alright, here we got the episodes that qualified to make it, to answer the question of what is the most normal episode of Gumball. This list avoids as much as possible wacky situations, strange scenarios, which for this show was quite a challenge. So let's start discarding. And the first one has to be the boombox. Did I mention how much I hate this episode? Apart from Gumball being really unlikable, I have the perfect excuse for this one to be ruled out. And that's when they misunderstood you and they started committing various felonies across the board, as well as violating some laws of nature. Talking of laws of nature, the average body in Elmore works in ways that us human beings will never understand. I'm talking about their heads, eyes, legs, etc. For this reason, the episodes The Man and The Apology go out, as well as the episode The Party, that although it's pretty realistic that a fish with legs pulls more patties than you and I,
What do I need a girlfriend for? This. Mwah.
the strange way Darwin cleans the house up felt more like a plot device, cause we never see him doing that again. In the episode The Third, Gumball has to pedal up the huge hill to rescue his almost boyfriend from promiscuity. So naturally he goes so fast that the bike is torn apart and the air friction lights it on fire. Also, when speeding past a police car, Gumball is going so fast, the car flips over and the radar catches on fire. Not even in the hood I see that kind of tactic, so we put it away. Yeah, maybe it's a bit weird how these two 12-year-old kids got so high, but that's basically every middle schooler in America. So no big deal. These boys had an ego death and watched someone deleting himself before the 4-minute mark.
I come to work, I work all day, I go home,
But we discard this one because they talk to a ghost. You know, that usually doesn't happen in the real world. Usually. So yeah, we're already established in Elmore people's bodies are like Legos. But also, I'm going to crush so many hearts with this next statement, but super science are not real. I'm not a fan of cringe comedy. I kinda like when Gumball turns the water in hot dog guy's shower cold, making him shrink into a little tiny Winnie. But we rule out the favorite episode of Wattpad Weirdos. Now that leaves us for the final stretch. These 3 really regular episodes: The Refund, The Transformation, and The Guy. This episode is the kind that you can see in any movie or show. The part where Josh believes in special frogs is not that strange, considering that in our world we got dumb misfits everywhere.
Michigan!
NA rips off the tail of a T-Rex when everyone is fleeing in terror. That happens with lizards, but dinosaurs are not lizards. Plus, the next 2 are more normal. The transformation, as I told you, takes place at Penny's house, and it's them talking, but in itself, it's quite strange. I'm going to give you an example of why. Imagine you can't sleep one night, and you turn on the TV, and for some reason they are showing this part.
Hey, I said hands on.
You'll be pretty freaked out. It's like a bad acid trip. I would definitely shit my pants. And it's funny how he ends up naked in the in-laws garden. So that leaves us with The Refund as our winner. A really ordinary episode where the most strange thing happening is Richard growing a mustache. You might say, hey, that little man is giving Richard a beating. To which I will answer that yes, but it's not as if he has supernatural strength. The attacks are no different from those that a squirrel would do, with tickles and bites. Although I gotta say, if we don't count the animation, the transformation is more normal. But anyways, please don't forget to molest those like and subscribe buttons like a Minecraft YouTuber to a 12-year-old.